Hi everybody, Dr. Cobb from Z Health back with you. Today we're going to be talking about getting stronger. Now, a lot of people that I have worked with over the years avoid strength training because they're like, I'm an endurance athlete, I like to run, I like to ride my bike, I like to swim, I do triathlons. Is strength training really that important? Do I really need it? And my basic answer is yes. There's a lot of research around this. Now, I'm not saying that you have to become a bodybuilder, but one of my basic sentences in life is that there is no substitute for strength. When people come through our education program, they get really excited about helping people get out of pain through moving better and taking care of their skin and their breathing and all this kind of crazy stuff that we teach about neurology. But then when most of our advanced trainers come to our strength course, what they learn is that one of the key components to being pain-free or getting rid of pain is also being strong. Now, what I've discovered, again, over the years of working with thousands of people, is that many people avoid strength training because they think it's too hard. And like, I don't really want to go pick up really heavy stuff. And today what I'm about to talk about is super important because the vast majority of people out there who are not trying to be competitive strength athletes can actually get a really, really nice benefit from changing the way that they think about strength training. Over the last few years, what we're seeing is a kind of big growth in research that says, you know what, you don't always have to lift really heavy in order to get stronger. You don't always have to lift heavy to get hypertrophy. You don't always have to lift heavy to get better looking, or whatever it is that your goal is for doing strength training. So one of the most interesting studies that I've looked at recently, it was a comparison, and it was done in Canada where they took a bunch of people and they had them try two different tests. All right, so they had one group that was doing very heavy strength training. They were lifting about 90% of their 1 rep max for whatever set scheme, and that's usually going to be a very low number of repetitions. And they took another group and they had them lifting 30%. Now 30% is the equivalent of kind of doing a push-up against the wall. All right, so really lightly loaded strength training. And so what they started to figure out is that if they applied equal effort, and here's the important part, if they applied equal effort, they both got bigger, they both got stronger. Now this was males. Obviously females don't tend to get bigger like men do very often, but they would also get stronger. Now, the cool part about this, and again, it's very intriguing, is they actually were looking at anabolic properties. Now, people have heard of anabolic steroids. Those are the hormones that, some people take in order to get bigger and stronger. And they were measuring the impact of these two different strength training measures on anabolic hormones that were created within the body itself, and they found that they were relatively equal, regardless of the heavyweight or the lightweight. And so the researchers are now looking deeper into this, and they're saying, you know what, it seems like the last effort that you're making, as long as it's intense, that's really the key. And based on a neural lens, right, a brain lens, which is how we do everything in Z Health, that makes sense because we need to threaten the brain enough to say, hey, if this happens again, I'm going to be ready for it, but not so much that it goes, I'm just going to curl up and hide. So here's my suggestion for you in the coming week. If you've been avoiding strength training, I'd love for you to pick one thing to do, maybe a squat, maybe a push-up, something, and I want you to make it really easy. All right, not really hard, but really easy. Think in the 30 to 50% 30 to 50% intensity range, and see if you can do something, and just make sure that you're working really hard at the end of your set. I usually tell people, don't go all the way to failure. Leave 1 to 3 reps in the bank, if you want to call it that, but push yourself right up at the end. Now, what you'll find for most people is that if you do that, and you do it with some level of regularity, you can get a lot stronger, but it won't feel like it's wearing you out as much. Now, last tip on this is if you pick something that you can do 50 to 100 times, that's probably too light. So your 30% rep scheme should allow you to complete maybe 20 to 25 repetitions. That will prevent you from getting bored and stopping, but it should also be enough work for you to start to make some changes. So here's the idea, ultimately. You don't have to always lift heavy stuff in order to get a lot stronger, to hypertrophy your muscles, to look better, and to perform better in sports. Now, this is general. Obviously, if you're a competitive athlete, we may have to look at it in a different way, but for the vast majority of us, we can accomplish a lot in a way that we can enjoy, which is ultimately the point of exercise. So, there you have it. If you have questions about this, let us know. Otherwise, have a fantastic week.